Hello, I'm John Joe. Welcome to Line War. Today we have Meheecan versus SPQR. Meheecan starting on this town. They both picked this middle section directly on top of each other. And right now SPQR is up in the north over here. And we'll just turn off Fog of War and commands for both players. Turn on commands for both players. So as you can see, right now, Meheecan is going for 3 factories, 1 Navy yard, and is spreading some troops out. In fact, some of these infantry are literally going on a rush for this energy well down here. So they're not going to be capturing territory along their way. They are literally just trying to get this navy to continue to function. Over in this section, we have a bit of an opposite strategy for SP. He's going for eco and infantry. He does have the ability to build energy wells, but isn't really planning to by the looks of it. If he does plan to get a city here, the navy of Meheecan is going to do some really good damage to this industry there. That will actually stop him from getting a city up and running. But SP is actually going to get cut off. Is it? I don't know. Let's have a look at the map as a whole. Yeah, so they're going to get cut off around this area potentially, assuming Meheecan can get in that zone. Just going to turn up the speed until we get to the engagements. So we got a transport boat on the ground first, well, on the ocean first, which means he can try and cross the water and beat SP to his own section. It looks like he's got a good idea where SP is, and now will soon have the ability to place an energy well there. SP is now switching into some tanks, so he's going to be using the energy well over here, and he's getting some storage ready. So we got tanks and SAM, and he's just going to build up their numbers first. But the engagement is about to begin. We're going to slow it down a little now, just to ×2. We've got the artillery moving up here, and now Meheecan has been able to spot the lines. Well, they both have been able to spot each other's lines here as they claim this territory. And in response to that, Meheecan has left his infantry to carry on expanding and has brought the artillery over into one section. If SP can't cross this line, he's going to find himself trapped, or they could try and get some navy units out to transport across. Some commandos got pushed over on this side. They spotted the infantry, and he's just managed to save their lives with a quick evacuation. And it's probably going to place them down in the bottom over here. And that's probably what I'd do. Get them, be on the enemy on the other side. And then you can push from 2 fronts. Over in the main engagement over here, SP mostly has infantry on the front line, which if they can get on top of these artillery would do a lot of damage. But I just don't think there's enough of them just yet. But the tanks are rolling in. I think it would have been wise to retreat until the tanks got there, because now the tanks are going to get a lot of the damage, and there's not a lot of infantry to try and, ironically, tank the damage. He's bringing in some SAM units just in case he sees any air units, but unfortunately, I don't think there is any air units, but it's always good to back up your army with some anti-air just in case, because otherwise, that would be devastating to be exploited. Okay, the infantry have set up defensive line. The tanks are rushing in forward, trying to get these artillery, and this defensive line is getting hammered by these 2 artillery, which over time will do a lot of damage. And the tanks are ploughing through. They're not actually worrying too much about the army itself. They're just trying to break the front lines. They are going to try and bypass these SAM units, which are absolutely devastating the tanks, to be fair. They took out 2, with support from some artillery, of course. But those SAM units actually blocked the tanks for long enough for the artillery to do the damage. And that did stop them from getting over here. I don't think they would have got far either way, because to get anywhere they'd have to come through another choke point, which the reinforcements are coming through. But tanks on the front line along with these infantry, if the infantry started to push now, the tanks might be enough to just sort of push them all back. I would like to know what's happening down here with the commandos. He did drop the commandos off on this section here. He's got 2 groups and he's sending in constant reinforcements to this area. And it looks like he's left a group over here to try and scout and make sure that no commandos are getting through. But that is leaving, it is giving him some extra vision there, because if we look from his vision, if the commandos came in over here, he wouldn't spot it happen. So it is good to try and keep some vision around, especially when commandos are at play. And I think red has the advantage over here, even though there is some navy units, especially this cruiser. This cruiser will help do a lot of damage. But with the amount of tanks there, they might be able to take out that cruiser pretty quickly. But Meheecan has got a tank into the back of this section of the base, of his territory, and there is a structure there, but he's not going to worry too much about that. He's just going to rush around the back and try and find anything else that's over there. Actually, no, he is going back to kill that structure. And if he carries on, he's going to find this currently building airfield. But I don't think he'll be able to get the kill if SP notices what's going on, and he might be able to block it off quite quickly. Over in this section, red is pushing through, even against the artillery reinforcements. And we have some barracks producing on this side as well, while the infantry is still expanding for Meheecan. Is red still expanding down here? Kind of. They were. I think the commandos took them out. Apart from this 1 unit left over. 2 units. There's a few down here as well, which will be redirected eventually. But the north engagement is raging on. And we do have a cluster of units starting to build up from SP, as the reinforcements from Meheecan are failing to actually do sufficient damage, and the reinforcements are outweighing the lost units. So this red blob is just going to continue to grow unless Meheecan can actually do something about that. Does he have any secret plans, any airfields, nukes? He's got an airfield being built over here. So that is to try and support a defense in this section. I'm going to guess he's going for helicopters. Now, SP does have SAM units to counter this, but they are being left behind. And we've got a blue command on now, so the tanks are going to try and rush forward. In fact, actually, that's a command for all ground units. And some are going to go this way, capturing territory, where the others are going to go for his main section. And he is trying to strike command. This is probably a bad idea in this situation, because these units are going to rush over there to try and take it out, and they're going to run it into a lot of firing lines. Which is exactly what happened. And that did thin out the forces over here, but it might have given them enough time to potentially set up a defense. But without artillery against artillery, any defense is not really going to work out well. Any defensive line, anyway. I'm trying to make sure I don't miss what goes on over here. A cruiser managed to take out a structure on the coastline. And we've got 2 extra barracks here to try and counter the commando push over here. And someone's running low on energy. That's SP, which means he must be using air units now. And he has gone for interceptors. I wasn't expecting interceptors, especially as we haven't seen any air units. I assume he's trying to build them up as a response to what he is hoping for air units to be in the future. But it wasn't the air units. I forgot tanks are using the energy. And he's got quite a lot of tanks. And because they're black smoking, that means they're going to take extra damage in these engagements. I think it's 5 seconds after they smoke black like that. And at this point, I'd be switching out to artillery. He's not doing that, which means he's going to continue making his energy supply worse. Or his energy consumption. Switching to artillery when you've got this energy issue is probably going to be a better option. Just to manage the energy output. Over here, the barracks do go down to this commando push. And he's got some commandos up a bit further ahead as well. Does he have control over here, or is there still some units? A couple of units there. But SP is losing ground in that section. And is just about holding off in this section as well. But I think Meheecan's got a good group over here. And these units are going to continue to try and take some territory away from Meheecan. But the helicopters have come in and there is no ability to get SAM units over here. Unless he builds another factory, because the SAM units are over on this section and they're blocked off by the army. Let's look at Meheecan's energy. So he's doing alright for energy. As we're looking at energy, let's have a go at the eco. So Meheecan's on 1,240, whereas SP's actually on 1,000. To be fair, I thought he'd be doing worse. So he's actually doing a good job keeping up, considering the situation. Let's have a look at the total map. You can see how little area he actually has. And yet it's still managing to keep up, probably because he's got a city. Yeah, he does. He's got a city over there. So that's pretty much how he's able to keep up with the economy so far. The army over here is going to encounter a bit of resistance, but probably not too much that he can't handle. Over in this section, the tanks are running into a deadly amount of artillery, and they're going to do a lot of damage to these tanks before they can do enough damage back to make them worth it. What's going on down here? Not too much, just commandos pushing up into a relatively unguarded section. Those commandos are going to take out an industry, and I'm potentially able to run away before those infantry are able to get on top of them directly. The interceptors are going for the helicopters over here, so they are pushing around the back here to help defend in this section. There is one barracks left, but these helicopters are going to continuously diminish the forces over there, while the cruisers on this side are able to take out any units that are straying across, giving his ground forces much more ability to move forward. I am a bit surprised of Meheecan's lack of anti-air. Luckily, it hasn't been too much of a problem, but if he was using helicopters or strikers, this is going to be quite difficult to come back from. But he is just sticking to his interceptors. He's not producing any other air units. And now his SAM units are on the front lines and they need to be pulled back. Otherwise, he's going to lose those guys as well. The cruisers are firing support into this. Force to be reckoned with, as the tanks are streaming in one at a time, relatively speaking. Some straying off to take on the cruiser, and the others just falling into the bit of fire over here. It may as well look like a nuke has gone off in this section with the amount of damage on the ground. Over here we have commandos checking out this little area. It looks like the commandos on the front line have been taken out, but more commandos are coming in constantly. He hasn't got any structures over here apart from the energy well, so he is just streaming them in via transports. And he's got the missile ships right in front, as close as can be, to the airfield over here. So even though they can take off, when they land, they come into range of these missile ships. What about the force over here? Because I would have thought the helicopters, they're doing a good job, but they're just not able to take it out completely yet. But there's only one tank left, and quite a few heavily damaged infantry. And it looks like SP wasn't able to keep up, and unfortunately didn't see a way to win that war. So wave the white flag. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video. There's 2 on screen right now. Feel free to click on one. I'll see you there.